This is probably never. This is probably a video that you haven't expected today at the end of the month because tomorrow is May 1st. Well, let me tell you right now. Hello, everybody. My name is Guppy. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about a few things going on within this world. Me, as a 23-year-old man living in this space rock, um, let me tell you right now, things are getting worse than they were before. Let's get right into it. First, what I wanted to talk about is the David situation and what's been going on with this case and the trial. Um, I think everybody, most people know who David is. And if any of you people out there that are new to this channel or new to the internet, hey, welcome. We appreciate you here. But if you have time to escape, this is your time now because you don't want to be on the internet for too long because there's just too much for you to, handle with your own eyes. With that being said, David is a 21-year-old man who was born in 2005, a musician, a singer, someone who uses music as some sort of escape, as I would like to put it. Basically, he has got himself into a pickle, mainly because he was dating an 11-year-old girl. Yes, folks, you heard that right. An 11-year-old girl. And you might ask yourself, who in the right mind would, someone would date a very young girl at that age? And to answer that question is, I really don't know. And I don't know why. It's just very disgusting for the actions that he's done. I'm very happy that he's finally, you know, being arrested and being put to trial for him to be executed very soon. I'm not sure when that time is coming, but I hope it's soon because there's more information that has come out regarding to the case of him and, you know, I don't know if I should say this, but he basically offed her off this girl. Her name was Celeste and she was 11 years old. God rest her soul. He formed in a relationship with her at that age, and then throughout the years they have bonded together. They, started, talking about things that shouldn't be talked about. Um and thinking about that, as a normal human being like myself, it's very crazy how someone could have this some sort of mentality in their heads. And I'm kind of curious where that comes from. But at the same time, what he's done is just so disgusting and it's very off-putting and abnormal because this guy is the most corniest fucking guy in our generation, and I am a Generation Z guy. But this guy right here, this singer, is probably one of the worst guys and one of the most evil guys that has come out, and and is famous. Not many people knew about this, but about like 8 months ago, they found a dead body in the back of his trunk of his Tesla. Um, Many of you heard that news because it was very big back in the day, and many people were wondering why is there a fucking dead body in a trunk, while this guy is just singing out in a concert, because that's where they found the dead body. And at first, many people were skeptical about it, and then many David fans, who love his music, who just listen to him, like him, whatever the fuck they do, the fangirls, the fanboys, whatever, they just keep defending him. And I and they just take these allegations as something like hey, like these are just allegations, innocent until proven guilty, this is just all, allegations, I really don't know how to put it in words, but what I'm saying is they have all the evidence right in front of their eyes, and then they just basically use their hand and then just swipe that away like a fucking TikTok. Like they just scroll that and just ignore it, and they cover their ears, and they just want to hear what they want to hear. They don't want to hear the truth. And I think that's just fucking stupid. A very stupid mentality to have because, you know, you're growing up to become older, and why are you not listening to the truth? You just want to hear lies for the rest of your life. If that's something that you want to do, then that's your fucking problem. But, many people who think rationally would say that this guy is a fucking evil human being. And for the right reasons. No, I mean, for the right reasons, they put him in jail. And I'm very glad that they did. And they're going to, they say they're going to execute him. They're going to put the death penalty on him. And I am 100% full on board with that. What he's done, he was aware of what he was doing, his actions, the thoughts that he had too. You know, these thoughts were in his mind, so he knew what he was doing, and he was 21 years old. And I won't, and I don't understand this mentality where people are saying like, "Oh, this guy is only young. He really doesn't know what he's doing. Please give him another chance." But you're forgetting he's a grown ass man now. He can think for himself. He can speak for himself, and he can do things for himself. Why do you think he is the person that he is today, right? He's famous. He's a singer. But then, he has, you know, other thoughts too that are fucking weird. They found fucking 40 terabytes of CP in his hard drive. If you don't know what CP is, don't search it up. Don't search up the definition, but it's basically, um, it's explicit material for minors, and that's disgusting. I, that's something no one should ever, be talking about or be seeing, because it's just it's just the thought, that you don't want to associate with, as a normal human being. If any of you normal dudes out there that think the same way that I do, that, dating a minor or grooming a minor is something that many people think that it's normal. It's not normal whatsoever, dude. You it's a child. They don't know anything. Know they don't know anything. They're still being raised by their parents. They don't know how to make choices by themselves. They don't think rationally either, you know? It's very important that we watch our children and we take the responsibility in protecting them, because nowadays it seems like no one does that anymore. No parents that I've been hearing or seeing. I feel like the majority of parents just don't want to take care of their child anymore, or children. They instead just hand them an electronic device. They go on TikTok, they download this and that, and then they just see whatever they see on the internet. And that influence you know, can affect them, and their mentality, because they're gonna start thinking of things that they shouldn't be thinking about. And let me tell you right now that I was one of those people. Let me explain to you. When I was a young kid, I was pretty much exposed by the internet, and it was unfiltered. And back in the day, it was very different than it was today. Back in the day, you can basically do whatever you want, but at the same time, it's there's a lot of things that you don't want to see. And I was one of those people. And I'm not saying they're crimes, but they're I've seen morbid stuff, and I've seen disgusting stuff too. And all of these things, you see as a kid, and they stick with you for the rest of your life. And this influence can affect you. And my point is with me, it started making me think about a lot of things that I shouldn't be thinking about. And you start to doubt yourself, with associating with, like, let me give you an example. Like challenges, for example. You see challenges on TikTok. Um if you start seeing trends and stuff like that, and then you as a kid, you want to do those things because they seem pretty fun to you. You want to be part of that. And there are some other bad things, like bad challenges, like um what's one example? Let's say, like, uh, this is an example. Let's do the salt and ice challenge. This was a challenge back in, like, in the 2010, in the 2010 tens. Sorry. And it was a very popular trend back in the day. And you know, I was a kid. I didn't know any better. I thought it was something fun to do. So what I used to do as a kid, I used to grab a ice, one of those ice cubes, and then grab some salt. So what you did is you pour some salt on your arm, and then you would use the ice and then put it on top of the salt. And then what it would do is, once you mix the salt and the ice at the same time, it causes a reaction where the salt reacts to the ice, the cold ice, and it starts to heat up, your skin. And what happens is it starts burning, and it leaves a scar on your skin. And the longer you do it, the bad it becomes. And I'm glad that these trends are, like, not as popular anymore because they're just fucking dumb. But my point is the fact that when you're a kid, seeing these things, you're gonna be doing them. I was a dumb kid. I wasn't very smart. Let me just put it out there. There are some smart kids out there that know better, but there's people like me, who just goes on the internet unsupervised, like if it's dally. Um, it was very unfortunate for me because I just didn't know any better. And this is a lesson that all of you people should know, especially the younger people, the newer generation that are starting to grow up. If any of you guys are watching my videos, please take this advice because it's very useful, and it would greatly help you in the future, and start thinking about, the correct ways of, making good decisions for yourself that would benefit you. Not bad things. You don't want to associate with bad things because that would just leave you down in a bad hole, and I don't want that for all of you. But know, with all this being said, the David situation was awful. Everyone's been talking about it, and with these new details that's been coming out, it's very horrific, you know. And I would like to talk about this more, but I feel like this isn't very appropriate to talk about on YouTube because YouTube is very different now than it was back in the day. Back in the day, YouTube was the Wild West. You could basically say whatever you want. But since I'm very new to this channel, in 2026, I have to be very careful of what I say because, there are rules. There are rules in this, in this platform, so I gotta follow them. But nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's what I really wanted to yap about. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.